Welcome to the Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raquel Tosin, and this podcast is here to help you to experience being blessed that transcends a mere hashtag. Because you already know, blessed is a mindset. It doesn't matter what you have or who you have in your life. You have to wake up every day and make a decision that you are blessed. Now, we are broadcasting on WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network, and they have a mission to encourage, to educate, and to just enhance your life. That's what we're here for. So if you are enjoying the Bless podcast, please go to www.wytv7.org and hit the green donate button. $10, $5, $50, whatever you want to give, we will accept to help us to further the mission. Now, May is Mental Health Month. So we wanted to talk, we didn't want to just give you the same topic with different people. We have actually different topics because mental health is huge. It's a lot to talk about. My guest today is Miss Larissa Malcolm. She is a therapist up in Ohio. Okay, and y'all know usually people I love to bring on my friends. Larissa, this is our first time meeting, but after this we are going to be friends because I like your style. All right, but let me just give a little bit more. She's been in the practice for 23 years. She's helped families involved in children's services, juvenile court, inmates, and residents of long-term care facilities. That one was really interesting to me because you help those that have to give up everything. We think that, we have to put mom or grandma in the facility and that's not going to mess with their psyche, their mental, and it does. That was really interesting. You're currently helping people affected by COVID, and that's what I really wanted to talk about today, because COVID, even though it seems like we're coming out of it, but there's still some mental things, even if we, even for the people that didn't even get COVID, right?
Yes.
Well, welcome to the Blessed Podcast,
Well, thank you, Dr. Raquel. I so it's interesting. Today is May 10th, and today is the day last year that I had my first COVID symptoms. I
Wow.
woke up and remembered that. It's so weird. So for me, it was really mental. I was working as a therapist in a long term care facility, dealing with people that were experiencing loss of independence, experiencing all the things that come with being in a long-term care facility. And then COVID came and it was all shut down. And I decided to still continue being there. I guess I didn't think I would get it. And I
Mhm.
got it from a resident who got it from a nurse. There was the whole contact tracing.
Yeah.
And she passed away.
The
And
nurse did?
hmm?
The
No,
nurse did or the
resident.
patient? The
The
resident.
patient did.
Oh, oh,
And so it caused me to have panic attacks, and they were really, really bad. And that's why I started my own practice after that. But it was nobody was talking about the mental health part for all of us. Like you said, the collective trauma of this whole year being shut up, shut down, shut back. All of this is impacting people. But for me, having COVID, I had terrible panic attacks. And the other day, well, about a month ago, I was contacted by a person who's in another state who got on my calendar, and she found me because there's an article in the Cleveland Plain Dealer called "I Couldn't Stop Crying," and that was my experience with COVID. And so she Googled that, and she Googled COVID and crying, and that came up. So she found me that way. So that was my COVID experience. I don't know. I interjected. I don't know what your questions are,
well,
but
I mean, but you just gave us like the whole foundation. I didn't even realize that you had COVID also. I just thought you were helping other people that experience, but you were actually coming from your own experience.
yeah. So
Yeah.
May 10th of last year, so today is May 10th of this year, I had a runny nose. And then on my way to work the next day, because I just thought I had allergies.
Mm-hmm.
It was just allergies. And I got a message saying that this particular resident was hospitalized, and she was a resident that was on my caseload. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew then, even though I didn't feel that bad, but my nose was running,
Mhm.
I knew that I had it. So I turned around, came home, found out I had a fever,
Mhm.
contacted the doctor on the telehealth,
Yeah.
and said, this is so funny. I contacted them. They didn't reach out to me. I reached out to them, and he was like, "You have COVID. Those are COVID signs." And I'm like, "No, you can get a fever from allergies, right?" I was like trying to convince this doctor that you could have, but it was just like instant panic. And then I lost my sense of smell. I had some other weird neurological symptoms that now they know are COVID, but at the time it was just coughing, right? So I
Right.
laid on the
Well,
couch.
wait, well, tell us about those, the symptoms that they didn't tell us about. What?
They didn't tell me. Oh well, they talk about it now. Well, maybe I pay a lot of attention to COVID stuff because I
Mhm.
had it, but I had horrible panic attacks. I had lost my sense of smell and taste, and my ears were ringing. So I had this buzzing, ringing, hissing noise in my ears. My fingertips went numb. And I had these weird like sensations. I'll send you an article that talks more about it, about the neurological symptoms of COVID. So
Mhm.
my whole experience was neurological and
Mhm.
psychological.
Okay.
But to be like when you said this is the blessed podcast, for those 2 weeks, I didn't feel blessed. I felt terrified. I didn't want to die.
Mhm.
But it gave me a new perspective on my life. But
Yeah.
I think anytime anybody who thinks that they're gonna die, I'm not convinced myself. I called my brother and I was like, "Please take care of my dog." That was the most important thing. I didn't want my dog to be
Right. Right.
alone. And he's
And
like,
I'm sure a lot of people feel that way.
"Yeah."
Yeah.
And but thinking about the things that I didn't do in my life, the things that I could have
Mhm.
accomplished, maybe the people that I didn't forgive or didn't ask
Mm.
forgiveness of, all of
Yeah.
that stuff was like so top of mind that
Uh-huh.
when it was and when I finally started to get better. So I experienced fatigue for a couple of months after COVID, which is a common thing, but nobody really knew then. I
Okay.
was really tired for a long time, and I chose not to go back to my job in the nursing home. And then I opened up my own practice, so I see clients all over the state of Ohio in
Okay.
telehealth,
Mhm.
and they're not all COVID patients. Actually,
Okay.
not even many. But I really wanted to get the word out about the impact that it has on our mental health, even the
Okay.
collective impact on everybody.
Yeah.
The complicated grief that people experience, losing their family members, maybe they were infected and then they infected someone else who.
Right. That's what I want to talk about. That's the first thing. So, like the guilt, because I live in Los Angeles and we
Mhm.
have a large population of Hispanics and a lot of intergenerational people, living in one home. And, but a lot of them are essential workers. So they had to go to work. And then they, maybe get COVID and they come home without knowing and they infect grandma or grandpa, and just the guilt of, not just exposing your family, but then they get sick. And then if they're, and a lot of them, they pass away. And
Mhm.
so how do you counsel that person about surrounding that guilt of passing along COVID, even if it wasn't to death, but it was, the person was very ill and in the hospital.
So for me, my
Mhm.
own experience, and I didn't, I, I infected one person who was fine, but
Mhm.
I felt guilty and I felt ashamed. And I think the first thing that when I just wasn't thinking rationally, and I think other people aren't. You feel guilty, you feel ashamed. Would you feel guilty and would you feel ashamed if you got a cold?
Mm,
This
mhm.
is more virulent. It's more virulent than a cold. It's
Right.
more. It spreads more rapidly. It spreads more easily, and it's so insidious. Or
Mhm.
you can be somebody who has no symptoms at all,
Right.
and then another person in your house gets it, and they have the cough and catch pneumonia, and another person gets some other respiratory or abdominal illness, like they have like a stomach flu. So it's just different for everyone. But
Mhm.
the guilt. Well, we feel guilt when people die anyway, right? We always feel guilt, and what we could have done and what we should have done. Just, listening to people's story,
Mm-hmm.
and putting things in perspective. It.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. I was thinking that that's something that a lot of people probably are dealing with, guilt. And then it could be on the other side, the person who, somebody gave it to you. Now I have a grudge against you because you came to the party and you knew you weren't being safe, or you knew you didn't wear a mask or something. It's like now, or even just a family member holding a grudge because abuela died, and it's your fault because you came over for Mother's Day. Because last year, this was like in the thing, it was Mother's Day weekend. Like, who's not gonna go see grandma and mom for Mother's Day and Father's Day when all they come? And so, and even Christmas, we had the big surge because everybody wanted to be together. But then can you imagine, like, some of the other family members that said, no, I'm not gonna go because we're in the midst of COVID and you guys shouldn't go either. And then something happens, now they have a grudge. So it's
Mhm.
like, trying to help people, even having a grudge against your family members when it's really not their fault.
I've seen that. So I moderate a support group on Facebook. When there's plenty of support groups on Facebook for survivors and people who have COVID or have had it.
Mhm.
And I've seen people post like text messages that they've received from family members that
Mm.
are, uh-oh, something.
Mr. Happy Living here. I love good things made for good people. That's why I love Happy Living's online e-course. It's an 8-week long deep dive into you and the inspired life you want to live. The life you were put here on this earth to live. The one that you and only you can live. 8 weeks of lectures and ideas and topics and supporting materials and powerful self-improvement tools. All designed for you. All designed to help you create the tools and the power and the confidence you need to discover your purpose and to discover the life you were meant to live, and to feel incredibly inspired and motivated to decide you will live your life to its fullest. It's all designed to help you create the unique and distinct philosophy of you and your inspired life. Go to happyliving.com, select our e-course, and save $100 with promo code WYTV7. And for every enrollment, I'll donate another $100 to WITV7. For $300 and about 30 hours, I promise you'll never, ever be the same again.
The messages that I've seen have been
Mhm.
so like shame provoking. Like, oh
Uh-huh.
my goodness, blaming and shaming family members
Mhm.
for the virus. The virus is not somebody's fault. If you weren't as careful as you could have been, it's
Mhm.
water under the bridge, right? We live in
Right.
the present and not in
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
past and in the
Mhm.
future. How do we focus on this moment and what you can do differently now?
Mhm.
Even people, I was very careful, right? So that was a thing.
You were at work. That's
I
what I'm
was
saying.
at
You were
work.
at work.
I was so careful and I was so ashamed that I got it. So it's
Mhm.
like do the best you can.
Mhm.
And if that doesn't work, you did the best you could. Although
Right.
there are people that aren't, but that's even them. The messages that we receive from the media and the messages that was so confusing, people don't know what to do to be safe. Hopefully, we're coming off on the other side of this. I
Mhm.
hope we are. I
Yeah.
got my shots, but I know that some people don't want to get it, and you can't blame and shame
Right.
people for
And I
getting
was
it.
about to say, we can't blame and shame people for not wanting to get vaccinated, because
Right.
I'm like, at first I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna wait and see what happens for everybody else. I don't want to, but then because I love to travel, my son works for Delta Airlines, and so I can get on a plane and travel where I wanted to for free. And so and then I have my play son and I have a family over in Germany. And I already knew, it's like, yeah, some of these countries are going to require vaccinations for us to go. And so I was like, I'm going to want to go visit them as soon as everything opens up. So let me just get vaccinated. But like, it's really difficult. Like when we talk about vaccination, I don't want to shame people into getting vaccinated because I'm like, when it's all said and done for me, even though I'm vaccinated, I'm still going to wear my mask. I'm still going to ask you to wear your mask. I'm still probably not going to hug you. It don't matter if we all vaccinated but here's the thing though, Larissa, I'm not a big hugger.
Oh, so
So
you
this
got
whole
lucky.
COVID thing, I'm happy because now people won't hug me because I feel obligated. When it's at church, I feel obligated to hug people. And I'm like, okay, well, I really don't want to hug people. So now I don't have to hug people.
That's so funny. I am a big hugger. I love hugging people,
Yeah.
but I will probably never hug anyone.
You will, but you know what? But then that's the thing because even, how do we, if you are a hugger, like if you need touch, some people need touch and it's not, it's not a sexual touch. They need
No, right.
a lot of touch. If, what do you tell that person? Because they are probably dying inside. I
Oh, I
need
know.
a touch.
Yes. So people that have been vaccinated that are so excited to get to hug their family for the first time
Mhm.
in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was real ambivalent about the vaccine, to be
Mhm.
100% honest. I ended up getting it anyway, and but I, having COVID, it left me with some weird health problems that are starting to go away. Like my blood pressure was high, my pulse was rapid. I ended up with a way higher A1C than I started with before I had it. So I'm like, well, what is the vaccine gonna do? But as I learned more and more, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it. Plus, I want to travel, and but I don't know. I am a hugger. I don't know. I sometimes feel weird not hugging people. I went out to dinner the first time in a year. Now I love going out to dinner. I'm like always, that's like a thing I do. But
Yeah.
we went to a restaurant last month, like in April, the middle
Mhm.
of April. We went out because it was after our 2 weeks after our last shot, and it felt weirdly uncomfortable
Hmm.
to be around other people, to be around so many other people. And it's only been a year since I haven't
Right.
been around other people. So yeah, I want to go somewhere like Larissa leaves the living room, because I started my own practice.
Larissa leaves the living
I
room. I
work in
love that.
the living
That's
room
a
of
cute
my
show. Larissa leaves the
right?
living room.
I'm gonna start my own podcast. It's gonna be really
Yeah, Larissa leaves the living room. That's a pretty cool. So, but then even just so the whole mental health around not being able to leave the living room. You have so many people that don't. So, what are the few things that you suggest to people to help with their mental health? Just dealing with all the COVID stuff. Because I mean, it's just like so much. What are the three of the things that you really help tell people to?
three things that I really tell people, whether they had COVID or not.
Right.
One, to cut down on your consumption of media, of the news,
Mm,
because that I know, and I am a news junkie. I love watching the news. I'm like the person that, well, in the past you would call, and I would know everything that's going on in the world and in the city. But cut it back, because especially if you know what to do to be safe. You know what, as far as wear a mask and
right.
wash your hands and all that stuff. You don't need to hear that. You don't need to see all this stuff that's going on. So cut back on that, because that is traumatic, and it's
Right.
traumatic for all of us.
Right.
Another thing is stay in touch with your friends and family. If you have people, talk to them on the phone or do Zoom meetings.
Mhm.
Um, you know,
Yeah, my family, we do a Sunday dinner Zoom every week since COVID started. We started in March.
right, so you stay connected to people. So even though it's not the same, it's like a modification of the same.
Mhm.
Although I would say there's some people that I'm spending more time with in the pandemic on Zoom.
I, I agree. Because my family, we spend more time together because we live in different places. They're in the Midwest and I'm on the West Coast, but we see each other every Sunday. So it's like, but I'm spending more time.
than before. So one, cut down on media consumption. Number two,
Mhm.
stay connected with your friends and family through things. And number three, find a creative outlet. Something that
Mhm.
you like to do creatively. It could be so many different things, from learning an instrument, or doing something with art, or doing something with writing, or reading. Find a way to express your
You know,
creativity.
that those things that you just said, basically it helps for everybody's mental, like you said, it's not really just COVID, but COVID made people, I think, keenly aware of their mental health. I think
Yes.
that's what COVID did, because people really weren't thinking about their mental health. But when they couldn't go anywhere, they couldn't do anything, they started thinking about, because they started kind of sometimes losing it, freaking out. And then they start realizing how fragile their mental health is, I believe. And so it's really important, those three things, because we are all creative people.
Hmm.
I know there are some people out there saying, I'm not creative. Okay, let me tell you, I realized that decorating a house, that you have to be creative to do that. And a lot of people's houses are decorated. The professional people might not think it's great, but you decorate it, and you did that, right? It's
Hmm.
like those are things. Even just gardening, I know people that garden, the flowers that they choose, that's a creative process to even choose what kind of flowers you want to put in a yard. And
Yeah.
then actually know some people that get the adult coloring books, and they color and they have a great time. Yeah. So like that is such a good point. Like that's one of the points, because I'm a very creative person. And I just think that everybody, that is a great way to like kind of stay grounded into who you are, and not get so bogged down on the stuff that we do, because sometimes we think that what our occupation is who we are, but it's usually not.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's usually not. Like you have to think back, when I was a little kid, this is what I wanted to do when I grew up. And most of us are not doing those jobs.
I wanted to be a missionary.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like a lot of
I
people,
know.
we have these different things that we want to do. And because that's like from the gut, that's like that's how we want to express ourselves. And then we learn other things. Like me, I learned about money because really I wanted to be a writer, but writers didn't really make a lot of money. So I was like, well, how about being a pharmacist? Because I make a lot of money doing that. But I end up coming back to writing.
So you're
So
a
I end up
pharmacist?
coming back. Yeah, yeah. But I'm kind of cutting it out now and doing other things. But I like I like being creative. And even as a pharmacist, like there are ways I had to be creative doing that, just trying to figure out things. But those 3 points that were very, very, very awesome. We have only like 10 minutes left. So I do want to real quick, I want you to touch on, like, because you used to work in the long-term care,
Yeah.
right? And so if we have people in long-term care that we love, what's the main thing that we need to do to help them with their mental health?
Oh, wow. It is so hard right now because you can't visit them. I don't
Mhm.
know. I mean, when we cut back, like I worked during COVID from March until
Right.
May in the nursing home, the long term care facility. I didn't get after I got COVID, I didn't go back. But
Right.
and it's I would visit them, but I don't.
Visit.
You can't visit them now. So do as much as you can to see them, because the disconnection from the people that thrive in long term care facilities are the ones whose family members are more involved. That was my experience. That
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
people are not, they don't get the visits, they don't get the. And so you're asking in this day, and I don't even know if I have a good answer
Well,
because
maybe I
for
was like to say,
today,
because as you said, but even just because yes, you want to visit, but then it's like, okay, showing them that you still care, that they're
yes,
maybe out of sight, but they're not out of mind and out of heart. And so maybe asking the facilities if you can Zoom with them, or even if you have to go outside and just yell and wave and make noise or something,
Yes.
like to let them know. I mean, letters still work too, don't they?
Yes, and any way that you can connect to them in some kind of way with your presence or phone calls or videos, Skype, Zooms, whatever.
Yeah.
The people that thrive the most, that have the best outcomes, in my opinion, and this is not based on research. This is based on what I saw. Is the people who have their loved ones visiting them, their loved ones, some kind of connection to them, calling them, Zooming with them, sending letters, sending gifts, whatever you can. And I mean, hopefully that will start to open up more soon.
Yeah, hopefully it'll open up where people
Yeah.
can get back and visit.
Yeah, because that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'm sure. And that's, and connection. And so we're going to wrap it up, but it just seems like for me, listening to what you say, not just in the nursing home, but everybody, we really need to stay connected to one another.
Yeah.
And that connection helps our mental health. Like really connection is what helps. And so one of the things that I don't want to say preach, but like I be on my soapbox. If we get our connection like with God, like, and I'm not talking about in the churchy, you got to do everything judgy way. I'm talking about understanding that God is within and that there's so much love engulfed, like surrounding me because God is, like loving me on me, like that connection. And then understanding that God is also in the people around me. So that's why we should be able to connect. Then when people say, you never meet a stranger, you're right, because the God in me recognizes the God in them.
Like Ubuntu.
It's like, so there's a connection. And if we can get that in our heads, that we are all connected because of the God spirit within.
Yeah.
Then so if my family don't come and visit me, guess what? I'm connected to the lady that's in my room, and when her family come, they my family too. So I'm just letting y'all know. Yes, I would hate to be there and my family did not come, but I know me. I don't meet strangers. If somebody come to visit you, I'm gonna be talking to them too.
Right.
And every time they come in there, I'm like, I got me some company also. Because we have to start really finding connection. And unfortunately, sometimes family, they fail us.
Yeah. It doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have to be family. It could be friends.
It doesn't have to be.
I worked with kids that had behavioral issues for most of my career before I went to the nursing home. And there was this saying, there was like always these different sayings, and they would say bad behavior comes from unmet needs. And the biggest unmet need is loneliness.
Yes.
Connection.
That is huge. The connection, loneliness, the biggest, and that's where bad behavior, and it's not just with children, because adults behave badly also. So we have to go. How can people find you if they want to help, or they want to know more about what you're doing? How can they find you?
Well, that you can actually go on my website, and I know you talked about coloring books. There's a coloring book you can download for free on my website, and it is flourishingfocus.com.
Flourishingfocus.com.
Yes, and there's a coloring book.
Free coloring book. There you go. You just said everybody has to be creative, and you're giving them a free coloring book. You get a coloring book. You get a coloring book.
Yeah. Oh, you got to download it. You have to print it yourself, so There's some pretty cool coloring pages there. So
yeah, that's cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to leave the audience with before we wrap up?
Oh, I can't think of anything, Rico. Dr. Rico.
Yeah, you know what? Because you said it all. You basically said it all, and I appreciate you for being on Blessed, and for everybody out there listening. I hope that you understand how important your mental health is. And I wish that they would allow us to get free checkups every year, just like the physicals for free. Just, with all insurances, that's what they get. They need to start doing a free, healthy mental health checkup. But until then, do those things. Do the things that Larissa has shared with us. And until next week, be blessed.